I would like to talk today about relationship, specifically relationship versus righteousness, and the one actually fuels the other. Righteousness is for the sake of relationship. How do I know? Well, because the whole entire law is summed up in the word, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Right? So if you love God and you love your neighbor, that entails all of righteousness right in it. So righteousness is for relationship. It's often interesting to see things in the Bible that you don't hear talked about much. Like right at the very beginning of the story, what do we see? We see people in relationship with God. They're happy, they're fine, things are groovy, right? Then what happens? Then they eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is key. And what happens? They switch from being in a relationship with God and with each other, perfect, beautiful, wonderful, unashamed, unhindered relationship, where they were completely naked, by the way. Everything physical is a picture of something spiritual. Into what? Judging each other as bad, and maybe judging themselves as bad because of the knowledge of good and bad. They left the realm of relationship and entered the realm of making judgments about what's good and bad about themselves and about each other. Now, I ask you, if you look in the world today, which one do you see is more prevalent? Now, obviously, both go on to a degree, but if you look at the major driver in the world, what causes wars and divisions and all the crap we see in the world, it's mostly people, human beings, living in the realm of judging what's good and bad about others and themselves, and leaving relationship as a result. Right? So, in religious circles, in faith circles, I don't like to use the word religious, but in faith circles, you can basically, and I'm speaking right now directly to Christians, but any faith, culture, and people in general, you can focus more. Well, I'd like to emphasize that I'm speaking directly to Christians here. You can focus more on the righteousness aspect and miss the relationship aspect. And that is a huge mistake. I understand God likes righteousness. Blah, we understand that. We get that. But the point of righteousness is relationship. So if you're just seeking righteousness, and again, I speak directly to Christians and Christian culture, if you seek righteousness and you live in the righteousness, trying to make righteousness and good behavior and being well behaved your goal, and you do it at the expense of relationship, well, you're missing the point. Preaching to myself because I've made this mistake. So, and what you do basically, you, anybody generally, what I've done, is when you shoot for the righteousness and the good behavior and make that your goal, we partake in a spiritual, mental sense of the knowledge of good and evil all over again. And it does what? it takes us out of the realm of relationship with God and with people. Love is the goal. 1 Timothy chapter 1, I believe, says that the goal of our instruction is love. Out of a pure heart, good conscience, something like that. And that's a very encapsulating statement for the whole Bible. The goal of our instruction really is love. I mean, Jesus said it, Paul said it. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, etc. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. That's the ultimate goal. I understand we have tons of other goals and good things to do in life. But ultimately, those things serve that love goal, right? And that's what we're all living for. So again, to reiterate, it is a mistake to have righteousness and good behavior as your primary goal in Christianity or in life, in any other faith culture or anybody. But I speak directly to Christians because that's the culture I'm from, right? What we need to do, well, again, to reiterate, what we do when we do that is we partake of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in a spiritual and mental sense, emotional, all that, and we leave relationship. The goal is relationship, as illustrated very clearly at the beginning of the Bible. Relationship is what we were created for. Aim for relationship. Make relationship and love your primary goal, and righteousness will follow.